An average Phineas and Ferb episode follows the exact same plot. Phineas and Ferb create an invention, Candace tries to bust them, Perry fights Doofenshmirtz, and then before Candace can show her mom the invention, Doofenshmirtz inator usually blasts away Phineas and Ferb's invention. Now what if I told you that this is no coincidence, and that Phineas and Ferb are toying with Candace while Perry toys with Doofenshmirtz? But before that makes sense, we need to get some context. Let's start with their motives. Phineas and Ferb are obviously geniuses, and it wouldn't take a genius to realize the stress and humiliation Candace experiences every time she attempts to bust them. Now it's hard to know why though. Is it to prove that they are better than their sister, or is it something as simple as siblings being siblings? Believe it or not, it's actually not even this deep, and their motive is right in front of our faces. They don't even try to hide it. In the title sequence, Phineas and Ferb discuss things they're gonna do this summer, like painting a continent and then saying, "and driving our sister insane." This means they are well aware and actually make it a mission of their summer to drive their sister insane. Even at the end of the intro, we see Phineas and Ferb smirk after Candace gets mad, yelling, "Mom, Phineas and Ferb are shooting a title sequence." So now we know Phineas and Ferb's motives: drive their sister insane. Now Perry's motives seem a little more simple. If it wasn't for Perry, Doofenshmirtz would have taken over the tri-state area by now. But in every episode, Perry could easily destroy his inator instantly and leave. But Perry stays for the whole episode and listens about his life and toys with him until he's satisfied and blows up his invention. So there might be something deeper there, but on the surface, his main motives are to not let Doofenshmirtz destroy the tri-state area. Let's get an example of this in action. In the episode Mommy Can You Hear Me, Candace breaks her foot and is restrained to her bed, which should allow her to finally rest from busting the boys. And it seems this way until Phineas and Ferb decide to install cameras all around the house so Candace can spy on them. Candace is in a position where she can't move and can't do much to bust Phineas and Ferb, and they know this. Candace is stuck in her room and has to watch and be tortured while Phineas and Ferb build a huge invention directly behind her mom. This eats at her, and for the whole episode, even though she is trapped in her bed, she still tries everything to bust them with the literal broken leg. Phineas and Ferb even taunt Candace, saying hi to her through the camera, knowing for a fact that she is indeed watching. Now it's not even a question that Candace is constantly being tortured by her inability to get her mom to bust Phineas and Ferb. While this is happening, Perry does his little escape like always and goes to see what Doofenshmirtz is up to today. And like every single time, Doofenshmirtz has set a trap for Perry. This meaning, when Doofenshmirtz is planning his day, he always sets his trap for Perry. Perry has become a daily routine for him. Anyways, Perry listens to Doofenshmirtz's monologue like always before attacking about how he got a fly in his soup at a restaurant and was told it was a raisin, so now wants to completely destroy the restaurant with his boiling hot chicken soupinator. And then they fight, which is never really a fair fight. As they fight, Candace is inching closer to her mom after literally crawling with the broken leg all the way down the stairs to the backyard, saying, "Mom, turn around." And when she is finally about to tell her mom, Perry throws Doofenshmirtz on the inator and its blast ends up destroying Phineas and Ferb's invention, like always. The mom turns around and Phineas and Ferb act like nothing ever happened, like always. Phineas and Ferb may act like they don't care if they are busted, but if this was true, everything they do would be talked about with their mom. Phineas and Ferb have never once brought up what they build to their mom, and once everything gets wiped away, they act like nothing ever was there in the first place. But I don't really think that Phineas and Ferb have control of when their inventions get destroyed. I think they just genuinely feel invincible and think some god or something is just helping them not get busted, so they don't really worry about it. When people feel invincible, it leads them to become cocky, which then allows them to rub it in people's faces. This means Phineas and Ferb could maybe be in a god complex, which is defined as a pattern in which an individual believes they have great power, ability, infallibility, influence, and are superior to others. This allows Phineas and Ferb to taunt and play with Candace with no fear in the world and make her look crazy. But obviously there has to be something helping Phineas and Ferb not get busted. And would you believe me if I told you it was Perry the platypus? In an episode Phineas and Ferb get busted, Perry dreams of the boys finally getting caught by the mom, which has to mean Perry is smart enough to know if Phineas and Ferb get busted, it could end really bad for them, and there's no doubt Perry cares about them. It seems Perry purposely makes sure when battling with Doofenshmirtz that his inators can strike their invention to keep his boys safe, and while not meaning to, also helping drive Candace insane. Now I always kind of disliked Candace because of how consistent she is with trying to bust her brothers, but I think when you look deeper into her character, you can understand why. Candace doesn't really have many friends or even family to hang out with. Phineas has Ferb, and Ferb has Phineas. And they got like a whole group of friends. Candace has her one friend who kinda sucks, and a crush on a boy she'll never get with. Not to mention, because of the fact she can never bust Phineas and Ferb, she looks crazy to her mom. Now, I don't think what Candace is doing is right, but I think she does it out of straight jealousy. If I had extremely smart and popular brothers, I wouldn't do it, but deep down I'd want to ruin their lives too. I mean, these kids sometimes got the entire city in their backyard vibing with them. In the episode where Phineas and Ferb finally get busted, if we look at Candace's face when this happens, this is a face of pure jealousy and revenge. Doofenshmirtz is more of a character you kind of hate because he's like the bad guy, but then when you find out his backstory, you kind of understand him, but he's still kind of like the bad guy. Doofenshmirtz was literally born without his parents in the hospital, which doesn't make sense. It's like they wanted to leave him so bad, the mom plopped him out and dipped instantly. And when adopted by new parents, he was treated like he didn't even exist. He never felt wanted, always was the loser and the outcast. Even his daughter doesn't live with him, so I mean it makes sense he would want to ruin the lives of all the people who treated him like trash. Most of the times he makes inators is because he felt someone was mean to him. Now I want to say Perry is torturing him and makes him feel weak and like a failure because a literal platypus is beating him, but I honestly think deep down this torture makes Doofenshmirtz happy. Doofenshmirtz calls Perry his best friend and I think looks forward to when Perry visits and always ends up talking so much. Perry makes Doofenshmirtz feel less lonely even if it's his arch enemy. I think this even applies to Candace. Phineas and Ferb are torturing their sister and taunting her, but I think they know she enjoys this game they play to try to bust them. This has become something she can do instead of moping around in her room and doing nothing. She even sleep bust. In an episode, The Road Trip, she starts to sleepwalk saying "bust Phineas," which means this is something that really consumes her to the point she is dreaming about it. Now what I'm trying to say is, even though Phineas and Ferb are torturing Candace and Perry's torturing Doofenshmirtz, I think they're doing it in a more positive way. It's like a competitive game of soccer. Candace and Doofenshmirtz never win the game of soccer, but they really enjoy playing, and it makes them feel less lonely. There's no doubt that Phineas and Ferb care about Candace, and Perry cares about Doofenshmirtz. I mean, Phineas and Ferb literally create a whole racetrack to help Candace learn how to drive, and Perry always listens to Doofenshmirtz and allows him to have a friend. I don't know, maybe it's not that deep, and Phineas and Ferb are just building inventions and having fun, and Perry's just doing his job. I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking.